Hi, my name is Paa Kwesi Schandorf and welcome to Joy Campus. This is where we shine the light on all the relevant developments across the various tertiary campuses here in Ghana. As of now, we are present at the nation's premier university, the University of Ghana, and the purpose of our visit is to interrogate and explore recent happenings on the student political front here with respect to the Student Representative Council. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Thanks for staying with me. My name is Paa Kwesi Schandorf, and like I did indicate in the very first instance, we're going to be delving into the relevant happenings on the student front here at the University of Ghana. For those of you who are not aware, this particular institution has been in the news for quite some time now, and the reason has been very simple. It's because of what I would want to describe as tensions within the electoral space. Somewhere around last year, there was an election, but of course, one party felt disgruntled. They took the matter to the SRC Judicial Board, and it's been a back and forth. But finally, a new president has been installed. A vice president has also been sworn into office, and he's standing here right in front of me. Wisdom. Indukwe, right. It must be a relief for you. For about close to 8 months, you've been in a legal tussle. How's the feeling like?
Yeah, the feeling is one of relief. Relief in the sense that myself, in terms of the back and forth with the courts, in terms of the expectations that people have of you, having gone to the polls to elect you, always calling you at different points in time, trying to inquire from you and what's happening, and having to repeatedly go over the same thing over and over again, it was emotionally draining. So I'm very happy and I'm very relieved that we've been able to bring finality to the legal tussles, as you put it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was certainly a tussle. I mean, for those of us who were reporting and picking the information and all of that, it was quite a journey. But paint a picture for those who are not privy to the fact. I mean, what has really been happening from October last year up to this particular point?
Okay, so we had the first round of the election on the 20th of October. Yeah, and then in that election, there were 4 presidential candidates. But then per the stipulations of the SRC Constitution, none of the 4 presidential candidates at the time was able to meet the 50+1 threshold that was required. So on the 29th of October, we went to the polls, and then we had the runoff between my team, that's Prince Asumedu, and then myself.
Who is now president?
Who is now president, yes. And then Mr. Samuel Emosofusu, and then his vice president, Mr. Alfred Akwa, on the 29th. And then from that, the Electoral Commission duly declared us as winners, given that we passed the 50+1 threshold. But then there were a number of incidents that happened during the course of the election. And then because of that, the other party felt aggrieved and then petitioned some authorities within the university space to determine the matter and then also call the election in their favor. So, but then we had a number of challenges, because at the time, the Judicial Board, for example, that was constituted at the time to hear the matter, didn't have the locals, in our opinion, to hear the matter. Because given the calendar last year, if you quite remember, people graduated from school around July. The law students did. Yeah, and then they ceased being students of the school. So it didn't make any sense. Like it didn't make sense to us at the time for people who have completed school like 4 or 5 months prior to come back and then sit on cases, especially when one of the key criteria for even sitting on the Judicial Board is to be a member, is to be a student of the university. So
and to have your position as a Chief Justice of a whole.
Of a whole, yes. Some of them has ceased being Chief Justice. For some of them, some of the halls have even replaced them with continuing students as at the time. So they ruled, they announced results and a number of polling stations. Yes, but then we weren't satisfied with that, and then at the time, as a result of 1 or 2 issues, we weren't actually getting, we didn't feel like we're getting the kind of justice we demanded. So we took the matter to the High Court, as is within our rights to. Yes.
So of course, that's certainly within your rights, but I mean, why didn't you resort to exhausting internal mechanisms? Because I know there is a structure here at the University of Ghana that deals with such grievances. Why would you jump out of this jurisdiction and then go to the higher courts?
Okay, so You know, after the SRC Judicial Board, the board that's higher than that is the Appeals Board, which has like final authority in issues like that.
Absolutely.
But then you see, to go to the Appeals Board means that you accept the ruling or the decision of the lower court. But then the lower court is faulty. Like, I don't know if you get where I'm coming from. Like,
you feel the lower courts did not have the jurisdiction in the very first place to even commence with the hearing proceedings.
Yeah, they didn't have that, and then something cannot stand on nothing. So if you're going for an appeal, the appeal should stand on something that's legal. But in this instance, like the locus or even the jurisdiction, they didn't have it. So there was no point in going for the appeal. And then we felt like given there were a lot of miscommunication, misinformation within the space, because Party A says this, Party B says this. So we wanted to go outside of the university space to actually seek justice.
Do you have justice now? The justice that you were obviously looking for?
We have justice, we have closure. Yeah, we have that now. Yeah.
And so right now, all the matters have been, as it were, resolved appropriately.
Yes, and then I would also want to commend university management for coming in on board to ensure that the matters concerning the issue, the election was resolved peacefully. Because you realize that after we went to the High Court gave a ruling, but then the school actually still felt that the best thing to do was to use the university mechanism to resolve the issue. So a roadmap was drawn. We had the stakeholder meeting, and a roadmap was drawn. And then by virtue of that roadmap, we are here today as elected. Absolutely.
Quickly, let's touch on some of the developments, some of the issues that came up during the course of your election. And I would want you to be very sincere with me. During the entire electioneering period, we did gather that you were being supported by a certain political caucus on campus. I don't want to say your boss, but the presidential candidate, Asumedu, also had the backing of another political fraternity here on campus. As of now, both of you have come together and you're going to work in the interest of students. But, perennially, the challenge we've been having, or the challenge we have observed, is that normally when political parties back students in elections, they tend to come for, how do I put it, their pound of flesh. Are you going to be immune or insulated to some of these influences now that you have the mandate to serve students?
Okay, so I would want to use this opportunity to set the record straight. So first of all, per university regulations and then regulations that guide associations on campus, the operations of like the youth wings, more or less, of like political parties on campus,
the NDC and the NPP,
is something that's legal. That is first of all, and then like it's within the right of any students to register and identify with anyone.
So
of them.
who did you identify with under the circumstances?
But what the point I'm just trying to make is that the point I'm trying to drive at is that the SRC position as it is not one that is done on the lines of politics. So while it might be the case
however,
that
you received political support.
No, that's not.
You did not receive political support.
We didn't run. Or you see, we don't run on SRC on the lines
but you had political support of a sort, didn't you?
When you say that, like that's like a very generic statement.
Specify it.
No, that's it. You are saying it. So
I need you to confirm or dismiss, because the reason I'm asking this in the very first place is that many people believe, we have seen what has happened at the National Union of Ghana Students. Many students think that unions of this nature are no longer relevant because of political infiltration. So your students think that, well, Wisdom and Asumedu came on a particular ticket, they may want to champion their cause. You don't think that is a matter you should speak to?
So to answer the issue of relevancy, I don't think the SRC or students' unions across the country have outlived their relevance. Recently, we saw in the instance of KNUST where about 6,000 students were almost like at risk of deferring their course as a result of their non-payment of fees. We saw the SRC intervene, we saw the National Union of Ghanaian Students intervene, and then there's been some kind of reprieve to these students.
You were politically supported, but you'll be immune. Is that what you're saying?
No, that is not the case. So like I said, yeah, so it's in terms of endorsements, you have like various associations and then unions on campuses trying to identify with candidates that run. So for example, I'm a member of the Political Science Students Association. They came out, they endorsed my team. The Public Health Administration, those things are people. So when you say support, like it's neither here nor there.
That point is made. We'll leave it to our listeners and our viewers to, as it were, do the extractions. But finally, before we take leave of you, now that you are in office, tell us, just a matter of a minute, your plans. Are you considering a reshuffling? Are you going to as it were, dismantle the structure that has been set in place? Because we understand that the secretary was acting in the capacity of the president. I mean, prior to the determination of this case and all of that. What is your plan?
Okay, so governance in itself is a continuum. Yeah. So whatever it is the former acting president did is it falls within the ambit of the SRC. Yeah, and then given the kind of time, like given that we have like short time, we would want to like take stock of everything that has been done, do an evaluation, and if there's the need for us to make some changes here and there, I think we would want to do that. But as at now, we were just sworn in 2 days ago. Yeah, so we are still trying to take stock and get like a very fair, clear idea of like everything as it is, and then we'll be able to make informed decisions as to what the next steps is going to be.
Okay, so the next step will be informed by an evaluation process.
Yes, that is currently ongoing. Yes, so that's
all right. Wisdom, thanks for speaking to us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Any 30 seconds, anything more?
Yeah, so I'll just want to use this opportunity to say thank you to students of the University of Ghana for standing with us, for supporting us throughout the election up until the point that we are here. We understand that a lot of time has already elapsed, but then we are committed to working for you and then serving your interest. And then hopefully with your help, we'll be able to take the SRC where it ought to be. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you. So that was Wisdom Ndukwe. Currently, he is the substantive vice president of the University of Ghana Student Representative Council. It has not been an easy journey for him, given the legal tussles, the battle, and all that he has been through. But as of now, he has the mandate to serve, and we'll be on him, definitely, to see whether he will deliver on the mandate or he will sway to some undeserved parts. My name is Paa Kwesi Schandorf. We are continuing. At the University of Ghana, this is Joy Campus, and we are still shining the light on recent events that have happened in the Student Representative Council. Now, the SRC of the University of Ghana, if you look at the configuration of that whole establishment, it was modeled, or let me say it has been modeled after the architecture that we have at the national level. So there is the executive arm, there is the judiciary, and then as well there is the legislature. As of now, we're going to delve into the judicial aspect of the SRC in relation to all the events regarding the SRC elections, which has been the focus of this particular episode. Standing here with me now is a man who is a subject of interest. Why? Because he's very powerful legally. I'm talking about the Chief Justice, Kwabena Mafo. Are you really that powerful? I mean, in the scheme of affairs?
I would not say I'm powerful. I've just been given a responsibility to administer and supervise the judicial arm of the SRC. That isn't a position of power for me. It's a position of service. So I wouldn't describe myself as powerful, but a servant. Yeah.
Right, that is very well understood. Now, tell us, we know of the events that occurred, I mean, from September up to now, the political events. But from the judicial standpoint, what can you recount?
So the SRC election petition, which has just ended at the appeals board for the student level, started, as you said, in September. By then, I wasn't the Chief Justice. I was a level 200 law student, and I represented the EC as counsel. So
not any of the aggrieved parties?
The Electoral Commission, who was a party to that case, as counsel.
I mean, not any of the candidates?
No, not any of the candidates, the Electoral Commission of the SRC. So after the case was heard by the then judicial board, by some inconveniences, it was taken to the High Court by the person who won the election and was challenged. So after some negotiations with management for the case to be settled with the internal affairs, it was brought back, and through the settlement agreement, it was given back to the judicial board. By then, I have become the Chief Justice, and it was then appealed to the appeals board, and now judgment has been given on that. So basically, that's a brief summary of what happened in the election petition.
Well, I was privy to the judgments, the ruling of the appeals board, and I went through it and all of that. Now, the board did indicate, I mean, there were two issues that the board had to rule on. And the very first one was the matter of electoral more practices at Ikwafu Hall, and then that of Sabah Hall, I mean, the extension of the time by the EC. The appellant felt that that extension was not favorable. But of course, the board dismissed all of that. Don't you think that the appellants really had a case?
So there's a reason why no election petition, even at the national level, has passed or has succeeded. That is because there's a really high bar to meet when you want to nullify the election results of either an institution or even a nation. So it takes a high level of undisputed evidence to show that the results as declared by the Electoral Commission is not a true reflection of the vote of the people. Admittedly, even in the judgment, the appeals board noted that there were some irregularities that marred the election, but it didn't meet the standard.
They were not substantial enough.
It wasn't substantial to nullify the whole election because in the view of the appeals board, it still reflected the votes and the will of the people of the SRC, of the University of Ghana. So that bar was not met by the petitioner. And as long as you don't meet that bar, you can't just allude to any irregularity.
Paint a picture of what the bar is like. I mean, what is it really like? It's looking cumbersome. So it seems if I am aggrieved and I feel that I have germane concerns, I should be able to, churn a very compelling argument. Otherwise, I would not, the ruling will not go in my favor. Is that the situation?
So the effect of you petitioning the board for redress on the election is to seek some reliefs. If your relief is to nullify the results of the election, you must prove that the results as declared is not the true intention of the people. So you just can't, let me use the case of the petitioner as an example. He said there were some irregularities and there were some staff votes or irregular votes in the ballot. At that time, the board said that the EC exercised their discretion in sorting out those that were contentious. When those results were declared, the petitioner even didn't win, even with the staffed votes. So if you are alluding to an irregularity and you are seeking the relief that it must nullify the results of an election, whereas the irregularity doesn't occasion that miscarriage, then you don't merit that the elections be declared null and void, especially when it is a very cumbersome process to go to the election again and gather people, especially as you noted with the apathetic nature of the students here. That would cause a very cumbersome procedure for us. So
definitely it's cumbersome because this has been going on for the past 6 months and all of that. We understand, we have heard before that the wheels of justice often grind very, very slowly, even though it will come to a destination. How would you, as the new Chief Justice, what measure, what policy, what mechanism are you going to roll out to ensure that next time when there is a petition of this nature, judgment to be given more expeditiously? Because as of now, 6 months, we are behind time.
So that shouldn't have happened because the Constitution provides that when there is a petition, the board must deliver judgment within 7 days. At the first instance where I wasn't the Chief Justice but a counsel, the hearing delayed for over months, and that occasioned the subsequent events. When I became Chief Justice and the case was given back to us to adjudicate, I put in place very innovative measures to ensure that the case was heard and judgment was delivered within the 7 days.
Telling us about some of those innovative measures, those novel methodologies?
The convention or the traditional procedure here is, unlike the national system which has evolved to giving written statements of witnesses, here the witnesses go into the box, you examine, the counsel examine and cross-examine them. That alone forms a very elaborate and extensive part of the hearing time. So to eliminate that time frame, I asked the counsel for the parties to file their witness statements so that they will just move to cross-examination. So because of that, we were able to just hold one hearing for the whole procedure and the board was able to come with their ruling. Previously, because there was no such system, you will come for a hearing and you do cross-examination, you wouldn't even end another day, it will be adjourned and all those things. So when I realized that, I put in place these measures to ensure that no matter what, the 7 days mandate ultimatum is met. So we were able to deliver judgment within 7 days, and that was when it was appealed to the appeals board, who also gave their judgment within the time frame given them. So I think that overextension of the time given by the Constitution wouldn't happen again, especially under my administration, because that previously shouldn't have happened. And I will make sure it doesn't, like I've already started, it won't happen again.
Right. Thank you very much. So Kwabena is the Chief Justice of the University of Ghana SRC Judicial Board. He says that he has a lot of novel mechanisms to ensure that justice at every given point is expeditiously delivered. It's still Joy Campus. There is more. Welcome back. This is still Joy Campus, and we are still here at the nation's premier university, the University of Ghana. A lot has been happening here. So many wonderful developments, particularly in the arena of student governance and politics. And as of now, I'm standing here with a gentleman whose story I'm very sure you would want to hear, because he set out to become the president of the SRC, but unfortunately it has not been a smooth journey for him. So many back and forths and all of that, but finally he has been sworn into office. Prince Asumedu, are you happy and relieved as of now?
Oh yes, of course, I'm happy and relieved, because at long last, the battle has come to an end, and the mandate the good people of the University of Ghana gave to me as their next SRC president has been protected. So I'm happy.
That joy is definitely understandable. What differently did you do in the runoff that you did not do in the very first instance of the election?
Okay, so I adopted some strategies that I call some Operation Stay Your Hall. You know, some of us in the University of Ghana, we've had the experience from basic school. For instance, myself, I've been a student leader from basic school to the senior high school and to the University of Ghana. Primary 1, class prefect to primary 6, head boy, GHS2 head boy, SHS head boy, and here too as well. So some petty mistakes that we did in the runoff, and some things that we couldn't block in the runoff, we were able to stop all those things. And by God's grace, we won massively.
Was it just the grace of God alone, or, I mean, there were other support variables? Because we did hear that there was a political outfit that supported you. Was that true? Did you receive any support of any kind from any political establishment whatsoever?
Oh, not at all. We went into the elections. There was one message that I showed to the good people of the University of Ghana, that the voice of the people is the voice of God, and the sovereignty lies in them. So if they give me the mandate, regardless of whichever support that other people are giving to other candidates, their will prevail. So we went to them, we campaigned massively to them, all the Hall of Residents, our satellite campuses. We went to Kolebu, we went to City Campus, everywhere.
So you won on the back of your germane efforts, not because any political party necessarily supported you.
Exactly.
But did they support you at all?
No.
None of them?
None of them.
No support from the NDC?
No, none of them.
None from the New Patriotic Party as well?
None of them.
Well, that's fine.
Yes.
Let's now talk about your administration. You are over 6 months behind time, if I should put it that way. But the SRC has still been running under the leadership of the acting president. Now that you are substantively the man at the helm, are you going to make any modifications whatsoever to the existing protocols?
Okay, I think that people are well interested in the structures that has already been established. One thing that I would want to reiterate is that none of us here, myself nor my vice president, is better off than any other student on this campus. It's just by opportunity and by the grace of God that we are there as chief spokesperson for the entire student population. Yes, right. Yes, please. So when I realized that maybe your responsibilities are not going to help us to attain the success, the kind of success we want to chalk at the student front, then, I mean, we have a lot of fine brains out there in the university community that we can bring people on board to facilitate the process, to make sure that at the end of the day, the life of the ordinary student on campus becomes better. So we are going to focus on...
So you would effectively weed out incompetence. That is what you are saying.
Exactly.
We're going to weed out incompetence.
We're not going to tolerate any level of incompetency at the student front, because we cannot afford to disappoint the good people of the University of Ghana.
And therefore you weed people out?
If there need be.
Do you have any particular person you would want to replace? Because I'm sure that from behind you've been observing how things have been going. Have you noted any specific replacements yet, if you want to?
Okay. So one of my slogans that we used in the election was, it's a down ball game. That I'm that kind of political leader that I will not come and tell you. It's very difficult for you to predict the next action that Prince will take. So you have
a plan?
I have a plan.
But you will not disclose it?
Exactly.
So people should effectively watch out for you?
Exactly. And at the end of the day, the plan is to make sure that the student front is very vibrant.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Now, talking about vibrancy on the student front, one of the issues that continues to bedevil the student union is the issue of apathy. The fact that most students do not even care who the SRC president is when elections were conducted and all of that. How are you going to deal with that, perennial issue of apathy? Okay, so I've addressed my team members. As stands now, I'm the father for all, regardless of where you stand, regardless of where you belong to. I have to play that role of a unifier. So, all-inclusive administration, we're going to make sure we bring everybody on board. Unity would help us to attain the kind of success that we want. Just before we finally take leave of you, you know very well, just like myself, that the issue of accommodation is one of the thorny problems here at the University of Ghana. There's been, a long-standing conversation about the establishment of an SRC hostel and so many other suggestions in that regard. What is your plan, in that respect? What are you going to do to deal with the annual, crisis with accommodation? Okay, so in the policy document that we presented to the vetting panel for the just ended SRC elections, the accommodation issue was the first priority issue that we addressed, and we have an action plan to make sure that at least we mitigate this problem. Which includes what? Okay, so the establishment of the SRC hostel, we have the one that we entitled Legon for Legonites. You can attest to the fact that we have a lot of private hostels within the enclaves of the University of Ghana, and these private hostels, it does not occupy only Legonites. We have other institutions, students from institutions like Wisconsin, Gempa, and what have you, around the university environment occupying these hostels. So we're going to negotiate with the resident board through these private hostel owners and make sure that at least they give us a cap or a quota, a percentage, where only Legonites will be allowed to occupy before because you are geographically within the means of the hostel, you should be giving allocations. Exactly. What of other students? So exactly, they are within our campuses. I'm talking about Pent BET. I'm talking about other hostels that's very close. So what you are saying is that every other student, okay, to the extent that the person is not a student of the University of Ghana, that person should not take up residence in any of the private hostels. No. That's not the case. That is what Legon for Legonites means. What I'm trying to say is that because they are private owned hostels, we're going to negotiate and make sure that at the end of the day, we get a bigger proportion for our students, because they also give us a figure out of 100%. So if you're able to negotiate and get around 70%, and make sure that we put all those rooms available on the portal. 70% if my students are able to apply before they open the rest 30% to the other students who will be able to. Exactly. Is that not a discriminatory policy? I'm not a president. I'm the president for University of Ghana. Therefore, I have to seek for the welfare of my people before I will attend to other people as well. Very finally, very interesting. Very finally, before you take leave of us, corruption is one of the key issues, even at the student level. If I should take you to all the events that have happened you're already smiling. You understand the point I am making. I get you. What are you going to do to make sure that students receive value for money? The amounts that they contribute annually as SRC dues are not expended on wishy-washy, unnecessary programs and events and all of that, and some do not go into your pockets as well. What are you going to do about that? University of Ghana SRC is 64 years, and it saddens my heart sometimes that you come to campus and you cannot even pinpoint that this administration did this particular project. You get it? So at the end of the day, we are going to prove to the student populace that, hey, the amount of money you gave us during the academic year, this is what we've been able to do with your money.
And if you are going back to them to seek for more, I believe if you're able to prove to them that we did A, B, C, D with your money or with your dues, they will be able to understand you and give you more too. We were talking about SRC hostel accommodation. You and I know that the dues that we pay as SRC in this institution is the lowest comparing to other tertiary institutions.
Absolutely.
You get it. So
you advocate for an upward adjustment.
What are you before you advocate for an upward adjustment? What are you going to do for the students who have that trust in you? Prove to them that that 16 cedis each student is paying. This is what I've been able to do with that 16 cedis. And I believe when you go to them through the General Assembly, through their representatives of the various halls, that hey, after doing this, I think we can do more, they will be able to understand and come on board for you to achieve the kind of purpose or dream
in conclusion, you did mention, you told us that you had occupied previous leadership positions, basic school, senior high school, and all of that. Did you encounter corruption, I mean, in all of, during all of that time? Were you ever corrupt at any point in time?
Oh, I'm not corrupt.
Were you ever corrupt, I mean, during that time?
No.
No stain of corruption whatsoever?
No, not at all.
What about now?
No, not at all.
Absolutely?
Not at
Zero?
all. Not at all.
And you are promising the students of the University of Ghana that nothing would make you corrupt?
Exactly.
All right, that's
They
fine.
should take my words.
We'll take your words for that.
Exactly.
Great. So that is Prince Asumedu, the substantive president of the SRC. You heard him. He said that he would run an administration that is absolutely devoid of corruption. His aim is to champion the concerns of students. We'll live to see whether he will live to his words or he will deviate like we have always been saying. It's still Joy Campus, and we are still here at the nation's premier university. This is the University of Ghana, and we are still interrogating the recent happenings in the Student Representative Council. So we've spoken to the newly installed president and vice president. We've also been exposed to the thoughts of the judicial board by kind courtesy of that conversation we had with the Chief Justice. As of now, I want us to walk into the path of the Electoral Commission. I mean, the referees of the game, and Bright Xiao is here to grant us that conversation. Bright is the first deputy EC. Bright, have you done a good job? I mean, I want to start on that note from September right up to this very point.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. Yes, I believe the commission, indeed, we've done a very great job at large since we resumed office. So throughout to the electoral process, to conducting the elections, we've done a very great job. Within the record of the Constitution as a commission, we were able to achieve our goal, that is supervising and conducting the 2021 SRC election.
Maybe I should tell you why I'm asking if you've done a good job or not. Because, I mean, the election that you conducted, the results were severely contested, and
That's right.
I mean the outcome has been generally delayed. Does that merit an excellent performance by your commission?
It's in two contests. In the main election, you could realize we had a very smooth process. Speaking about the runoff election, certainly we had a candidate who was not satisfied with the result, and per the Constitution, if you are not satisfied, there are procedures you have to follow. He did that. Unfortunately, the procedures dragged the aftermath of the election. So as a commission, we did our part by conducting a successful election. But the aftermath of the election, of which the commission do not have control over, that is the procedures one must go through, dragged the whole aftermath of the election. So from the side of the commission, we did our best, but the procedures did not, bring out the best aftermath of the election, i.e. going through judicial board, purported judicial board, going through Accra High Court and coming back to the newly constituted judicial board. So that process did not help the aftermath of the election, but from the side of the commission, we did a
brilliant job.
Exactly.
But the appeals board indicted you in a way. They did indicate in their ruling that there were some blemishes that marred the process at Ikwafu Hall. That does not count for a good job. Indeed, at Mercy Sabah Hall too, the board did say that there were some lapses here and there. That again does not fit into the estimation you're giving us.
All right, so I always say in an election, you don't expect it to be 100%. normally as electoral commissioners, we can't control everything that is happening at the polling station. That is why we have measures in place to ensure that when there are irregularities, we address them. So, yeah, the appeals board found out that there were some potholes or irregularities at Ekuafo. They also indicated that the commission was able to address those irregularities. So the bad news is there were irregularities, and the good news is that we were able to deal with these irregularities to ensure that it doesn't affect the entire election results. So we did our best in Ekuafo and at Sabah.
Amidst the controversies and the tensions. Right. Going into the future, what mechanisms do you think the commission should deploy to forestall some of these occurrences? We have seen some of these things happen in the past, and in 2022 it's rather worrying that a process that is supposed to be so seamless and fluid would be characterized by some of these prolonged tussles and all of that. Any thoughts on that? What can be done to better the situation?
As an electoral commissioner, I was very integral in supervising this election. I realized there were some loopholes in terms of the verification system, of which the Commission of Inquiry set up by the Dean, even the appeals board also realized that. So moving forward...
tell us the particular loopholes in the verification process.
That is, when you verify an electorate, you don't... The verification system does not keep records of the people you verified or the electorate you verified. So moving forward, I want to see a more enhanced verification system that if you verify someone, the electronic system will just capture the details. Also, matters of, I always say, chiefs, voting and all. There's something that, if you are looking at the cause of Sabah Hall, Bruhaha and the Ekuafo Hall, for example, it evolved around the chief. So I wouldn't say they shouldn't vote. Perhaps we should put some measures in place to ensure that they don't always distract the process. I recognize and I acknowledge the fact that we have to treat them with some
level of respect.
Exactly. So moving forward,
but did they distract the process? Are you saying that the chiefs of the respective traditional councils?
I wouldn't say they disrupted. Over the years, they've been voting. It's been a smooth voting process for them. It was unfortunate, but per my observation, I think any electoral commissioner, or in the near future, the electoral commissioner should put measures in place to ensure that even if it's a special voting for the chiefs and electoral officials who vote maybe a day before the main election, that will be better.
Normally the chiefs vote more than once. Did it happen this time around?
I did not see any chief voting more than one. That's something that has to be cleared. I did not see any chief voting more than one. So moving forward, a very, at least we should have a roadmap for the chief. We can't you can't say that a chief should come and join a queue, a normal queue. Tradition, we have to respect them. So a neat way...
it should be done in a way that doesn't affect...
Exactly, basically, that will not affect the process.
Finally, yourself as an electoral commissioner, and then the entirety of the commission, were you at any point compromised? Did you come in contact with any compromising situation? Briefly.
The answer is no. We did not. The answer is no.
Nobody tried to compromise you at all?
Certainly you will receive calls and all, but in the end...
What's the nature of such calls? They were asking you to do what exactly?
Perhaps they assumed that we had influence over the online election, so you could switch it to their end and all, but it never happened. Exactly.
Right. So that is Bright Sel, the first deputy electoral commissioner, who also speaks on behalf of the generality of the SRC electoral commission, walking us through how the journey has been like, the experiences, and then some of the reforms he thinks should be rolled out for better outcome in the future. It's still JoyNews. I'm Paa Kwesi Schandorf. At a point in his life, students here at the University of Ghana were celebrating him, and that was simply because he had emerged victorious in the first instance of the election. But part two was not very exciting for him because he did not emerge victorious. He did not win, and as of now, he does not have what, of course, he has been looking for, the honor and the privilege of being called the president of the SRC, of the nation's premier university. They call him Nana B, but I'll give him the opportunity to introduce himself, and then first of all, he will tell us how he is feeling, because I did see some of your videos. I mean, you had a broom, you were dancing, you were so excited and all of that. Do you still have that kind of excitement in your heart? But first of all, tell us a little bit about you.
All right, my name is Samuel Amos Ofosu, also known as Nana B, Tencious Nana B, as you may call me. Yes, a student of the University of Ghana Business School, reading accounting level 400. Yes, very enthusiastic when it comes to students' activism and then making sure that the right thing is done, and also serving people is what I actually seek to do. Yeah.
So about excitement,
yes,
do you still have that same excitement in your heart?
Yes, I still do. You know, Paa Kwesi, I think that as a human being or as a young person, if you want to do anything, all right, if you want to make a decision, you just have to know that it's a risk you are taking, and risk is either you get is either positive or negative. So when you want to go in for something, let's say the position I went in for, I had to measure the risk. So if I lose, how am I going to, you know, control myself? If I win, what am I going to do? So I had put in all those stuff into place before even running for the position. So the energy hasn't changed a bit. It's still the same energy, the same way you saw me with the broom, I mean, doing the cleanup, the same way you saw me going to the hospital, having fun with the students, dancing is the same. Nana B, I still act. Even the day after the second run of the run of when my opponent was emerged victorious, I went to the stage, I went to act. Yes, so the energy has been the same. Yes, it has been revived more.
Right. If the energy has been the same, then I want to reconcile it with you fronting legal tussles. So you said the energy has been the same. You recognize that it was a risky venture, you could have lost. Why didn't you give up then? Why the legal tussles and all of that? Okay,
so growing up, this is something that I want to come out with. I want to come out with you, right? So whenever there's something wrong, I don't just sit down and say, you know what, let it go. Let's follow up. If there are legal processes that we have to go through, let's go through and make sure the right thing is done. Because if you do not set the precedence, that means that the same thing that happened previously is going to keep happening till the last person on this earth goes through it.
What went wrong?
So now you realize, I mean, Paa Kwesi, you know what happened. So even after I petitioned, people were like, but Nana B, you know that in an election you have to rig before you win. Why do you have to win? Why do you have to rig? If you know you have the people, if you know that people like you so much, do you have to rig? No, you don't have to. So if you go to Ekwafo and there has been so much irregularities, and you go to Saba, you go to this place, so much irregularities, and people saw what happened, outsiders, and you were there, people calling you from outside, why? What is happening in your school? And you think I will sit there to just watch people say that, oh, so University of Ghana is just the same. You just go into an election, you rig, and then they say nothing about it.
Are you alleging, I mean, the winners, are you alleging that they rigged the polls?
That's why I petitioned. If I didn't allege that, then there wouldn't be any cause for petitioning.
The court said that your petition did not have any substance, and that every election has, I mean, pockets of irregularities, but the ones you cited were not thorough enough to, as it were, affect the overall outcome. You agree with the court's position?
Like I said, we realized that there were irregularities. That is why we took it on. That is why the First Judicial Board said that we have gone through everything, and it's true, there were irregularities. And people from outside could even tell that, indeed, there was irregularities.
Substantial enough to have changed the overall outcome?
Yes.
The court said otherwise. I'm saying, do you agree with the position of the court as of now?
I am saying that we alleged irregularities. But if that's what the court is saying, fine. But we saw that how the election went was fraudulent. That is why we petitioned. And our case still remained the same, that there were irregularities. Yes, you can't take that from me. Yeah.
You say you still have the same energy. I'm thinking, are you then going to support the newly constituted executive? Are you going to take any active role and champion the cause of the SRC, or you recuse yourself and concern yourself with other engagements? So what's the plan forward?
Well, I have stuff I do. Understand? I have certain things that I do, and I'm not going to stop doing what I do, and I'm not going to stop doing what I do best to get people on my side or to actually serve people. I'm not going to stop that. I'm going to keep on doing, serving God, doing whatever I have to do to make myself.
Will you serve the SRC?
Sorry?
Will you serve the SRC?
If there need be, why not?
So if the president should extend a hand of invitation to you, says that.
And I'm saying that, Paa Kwesi, I'm saying that I'm going to do whatever I do at best that make people like me and that make me feel like I am serving God, I'm serving humanity.
So if Asumedu calls you and says that I need you to, let's say, lead a project for me, head a committee, what would be your response?
Paa Kwesi, at the end of the day, what we want to achieve is the betterment of the student body.
Therefore, you do it.
So whatever I have to do to make sure that the student fund is moving forward, student needs are met. I've been doing it, and I'll keep on doing what I do.
Can you give me a yes or no?
I'm saying that
if Asumedu were to invite
I am saying that
to a project, to lead a project in the interest of students, you are clearly telling us that you would do anything that would inure to the benefit of the generality of the student populace. Therefore, if an appointment were extended to you, come, brother, and let's work, what would be your response? Yes or no?
I am saying that I will do whatever it takes to make the student body a better one,
including accepting an appointment.
I am saying that whatever I have to do to make sure that student needs are met, to make sure that we are supposed to do something to achieve a certain goal that will help the student body, I will do it as I've always been doing. So I'm doing whatever I do to make the student body.
No,
okay,
that's fine. We'll leave it here. But finally, I mean, if you were to propose reforms, I mean, mechanisms and policies that you think should be incorporated into SRC elections, so that we don't have this long ride again, what one thing would you land on?
I think that going forward, the management, henceforth when we start the election, they should watch out. They should be on the lookout for some of these things. Because I realize that...
Universities management?
Yeah. I realize that throughout the election, it's like, okay, it's just one particular body doing it, and it doesn't really, management doesn't really care whatever happens.
But why should they care? The SRC has its own mechanisms. Why should management...
I mean, because they lack the sight on whatever happened at the election. That is why we had to come this far.
How? No, because there's a duly constituted electoral commission. I mean, coordinating the election. Why should the university's management be involved? Indeed, they may want to be updated.
Then how come now, got into the latter part, the university management came in?
Well, because maybe the matter, of course, escalated. It left the jurisdiction of the university. That's why they came in.
Yes, so I'm saying that in that sense, then they should start from the beginning.
Following the process?
Yes.
From day one to end? You think that would avert, I mean...
If they want a better way of having an election, I think they should do that.
Are you happy with the university's management? I mean, the decisions they have taken all throughout, up to this particular point?
At some point in time, I would say, well, I wouldn't want to speak on that. I wouldn't want to speak on that.
I want you to speak on that.
No, I wouldn't want to speak on that.
You are still a part of the university community. Are you aggrieved? I mean, students who are interested, are you happy?
I mean, certain decisions that were made, like I said, Paa Kwesi, I wouldn't want
to... We want the fine details, because, I mean, it will help the reform process, if any is going to begin. I mean, what are your...
Who empowers the judicial board?
Of course, it's the Chief Justice
who empowers the appeals board.
I'm not particularly sure.
You are sure, Paa Kwesi.
No,
you know the students, you know the constitution more than I do.
No, I'm not.
You know that.
No, let's assume that we know the answer to that. What's the point you want to make?
I want you to answer me. Who's supposed to chair the appeals board?
I asked the questions.
Paa Kwesi, I'm also asking you.
You think there was some kind of unfairness?
Paa Kwesi, I'm also asking you. You haven't answered my question.
No, I'm saying...
You answered me that the Chief Justice is supposed to empanel the appeals board, even though he has interest, right?
I don't know whether the Chief Justice...
No, I'm saying that even though he has interest, that is, if he has interest, he still empanels the board, right?
Absolutely.
Appeal board, who's supposed to chair?
The interest of the Chief Justice is in the interest of the law, and similarly, the one who appoints the members of the appeals board is the same. Are you in any way, I mean, making the case that you were not comfortable with the constitution of the appeals board?
I would say that.
You're not happy?
Yeah.
Why?
Like I said, you said that the Chief Justice supposed to empanel the appeals board. Likewise, the Dean of Students supposed to empanel the appeals board. Here lies the case that I took a case to the Dean of Students office. I didn't hear from him, but rather was hearing from the Pro VC, and then also I got to know that someone had empaneled the board apart from Dean of Students, that he has been set to sit aside and let someone empanel the board.
Well, that was because it was reported that
what?
the dean had been heavily involved and
okay.
bias was cited.
So that's why I asked you that who had to empanel the appeals board, the judicial board, and you told me that it is the Chief Justice. Now you realize that in the last court, that's the last of the judicial board, he was the lawyer to the EC, but then he had his right, his constitutional right to empanel the board. Right.
Make your point.
No, I'm saying
that's true. So you feel. I mean, the paneling of the appeals board was not appropriate.
Yes, and my lawyer spoke of it at the hearing, but they overlooked it.
Do you think it would have made any difference if the dean of students had then?
It's not about making difference. No, it's not about making difference. So throughout the processes, we are making sure the right thing is done. Do you understand? It's not about dean of students being there. It doesn't affect anything. But the jurisdiction in which they ruled in, the jurisdiction of the board is what we are talking about. If you are saying that we want to follow the legal processes, then the right thing has to be done from one after the other. That is what we are saying. That is what we are saying.
This particular wrong, how material? Finally, how
it's
material?
It's not about how material it is.
I mean,
you see, our problem is, Paa Kwesi, there's something wrong. Like the same way people call me and ask me, don't you think that you have to rig an election before you win? I think that's what you're saying. That since the board was not rightly constituted, I mean, it wouldn't have affected anything. But let the right thing.
I'm not saying the board was not rightly constituted. I'm saying that there was a case of bias or an allegation of bias that was cited in the instance of concerning the dean of students, subsequent to which he had to recuse.
So do you have evidence of that?
I didn't do the constitution.
No, so
the point I'm saying,
ask them if they had evidence of that.
You could have done that. Why didn't you initiate that process?
we write and they don't even respond.
Who doesn't respond?
I mean, so I'm saying that.
Who doesn't respond?
No.
We need because you are clearly aggrieved. So who was not responding?
No, Paa Kwesi, what I'm saying is that, you see, now you made a clear case that even though the Chief Justice was the lawyer to the ECs in the last hearing of the Judicial Board, he still has his constitutional right to empanel the board.
When he was made CJ?
Yes. So how come the Dean of Students couldn't empanel the board or couldn't even appoint someone to act instead? See, throughout the processes, the Dean of Students has always recused himself from all the board that we had to set. I.e. from the procurement board, he had to be the chair. He recused himself from the committee he said to probe into the election. He recused himself. At the UGSRC, he recused himself. So it didn't affect anything. It didn't affect my winning.
But you felt he should have just been part of that.
For the sake of propriety. Not he being part, right?
He should have constituted.
Not he being part, but the right thing has to be done. Do you understand? If we want to follow the right thing, we have to make sure that at any point in time, the right thing has to be done. That is what we are saying.
Is this your only grievance?
I'm not aggrieved. But I'm just saying that the right thing has to be done. And the right thing has to be done.
What other right things have to be done in conclusion?
To the young people, to those who want to run for election, you don't have to rig before you win an election. Make the people like you. Work. Paa Kwesi, you remember I met you in level 100 and I came to you, I want you to coach me. You get to know these people, let them tell you how to speak, how to approach people. It's part of winning. I actually won the election long ago because of how I built the relationship with people. Do you understand? So if you want to win an election, you don't have to rig, you don't have to do much. Just have a good personal interpersonal relationship with people and serve God, pray to God. He's always there to help you. Pray to God.
Did he help you this time around?
Yes. He's done everything rightly from the beginning.
Right, and you're appreciative of
yes.
that. Right.
Even where I've gotten to, I so much love you.
Right, we'll leave it here. So that's Nana B. I mean, you've heard him. You've been exposed to his thoughts regarding the outcome of the elections and all of that. That's all for this particular session. It's still Joy Campus. My name is Paa Kwesi Schandorf.